Good evening, everyone. My name is Darshan Doshi. I'm the founding director for the Flame Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation. First of all, I think all of you, I hope all of you are safe and healthy and being in isolation given the COVID-19 crisis that we have. In Pune, we have a lockdown going on. So I don't know which part of the world you're from, but wherever you are, I hope you're safe. Today we have a very interesting session. Before I give an overview about today's topic and our speaker, I just wanted to take a minute or so to introduce why we started Founders Talk webinar series. At Flame Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation, we've been running various initiatives to build an entrepreneurial village. This is a village where we want to support aspiring and existing entrepreneurs to positively impact the society. And we have an accelerator program called Flame Origins program. We've recently launched a one-year postgraduate program in entrepreneurship and innovation. We'll talk more about it later. Also this webinar series. Founders Talk is essentially a webinar series where we invite entrepreneurs, investors, educators, innovators, and business leaders to come in and share their experience of having built, created, and impacted the society. We have people such as Dr. Aravind, then Sanjay Mehta, Ganesh Natarajan, amongst many others who've been there and done that and have really done a lot for the society. So this Founders Talk happens every Wednesday and Saturday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. It is free. Feel free to log in and register for all the speakers that we've got lined up for you. The next part really is today's topic, right? Today's topic is about how do you manage change, or how do you bring about change? COVID-19 has adversely impacted one of the biggest sectors or biggest parts of our society, the MSMEs. They contribute about 35% of the GDP. There's an aspiration to move towards 50% of our GDP. And we've had some major challenges for MSMEs through demonetization, GST implementation, and now COVID-19 crisis, right? Liquidity crisis happening as well. So one thing is very clear, that organizations need to change. It's easy to say, most leaders know this, most business owners know this, but how do you really bring about that change? Going from knowing to doing is a big gap. And this is where this session is going to kind of focus on. And I'm very happy to, have Dr. Aravind Chinchure, who's an advisor to me and to this program and the Flame Center for Entrepreneurship as well. So he's going to talk about it. I want to just take a minute to introduce him. Right? Dr. Aravind Chinchure holds a PhD in physics. He has an experience spanning 25 years in R&D, innovation, intellectual property, incubation, social development, policy consulting, and teaching. He is the founder and CEO of QLeap Academy, which is focused on creating 21st century professionals and leaders. He is the chief mentor at Flame University. He is also served as the chair professor of innovation and entrepreneurship at Symbiosis International University, Pune. He's a visiting scholar and professional at various universities such as University of Oxford, MIT, Stanford, Princeton, Max Planck Institute, Southampton University, and many more. Now that being said, deeply honored to have you here, sir. Thank you for taking time to spend time with us. If you could, take this session, and just a quick announcement for everyone. We've switched off chat, though we will switch it on now and then to bring in your point of view. But you'll see a Q&A box at the bottom. Feel free to ask any and all questions that you have. What we'll do is we've got about 20 minutes at the end for you to, for Dr. Aravind to answer many of your questions. So that being said, all over to you, Dr. Aravind.
So thank you, Darshan. Darshan, when I spoke to you and when you requested me to deliver this prestigious founders talk right at the beginning of the series, thank you very much. And one of the topics that we were discussing is around MSME. How do we handle, how do we uh, bring that shift in the MSME so that we see that MSME, which is a backbone of Indian industry, remains or survives and thrives in this pandemic world. But what I did after I spoke to you is why not bring different perspectives about the change that we see, I have seen in many different organizations, which perhaps will have a great it will bring deeper insights to MSME, but also to all the participants who are part of this particular webinar. And I heard and understood from you that there are students, there are, of course, entrepreneurs, and also professionals from the industry. So I just thought, let me cover all these three aspects or the aspects that are relevant to all the participants of this particular webinar. So thank you, Darshan. So let me spend next 45 minutes to speak on fundamentally three most important things that I thought I should cover. The first keyword, one of the first topics that I will bring today in this particular seminar is the change. The pandemic has brought such a big disruption in our life, in our work, in the businesses. So how do we see the change that is happening in the industry and different parts of the organizations in the world? The next key important topic that I will cover in this particular webinar is what opportunities that exist, because there is some kind of a gloom and doom kind of a situation today. But I would like to bring very different perspectives on the kind of opportunities that exist for students, for potential entrepreneurs, and those business leaders and business founders. So where are those opportunities where we can apply some of the newer opportunities to see the change and also succeed and grow in the business? So let me first talk about the disruption part. What is that disruption that we are talking about? So all of us are fond of or always look forward to the tweets from Mr. Anand Mahindra, such a great entrepreneur and chairman of a company. He wrote one of the best tweet at the beginning of this particular disruption, which basically talks about the severity and the impact of the disruption that we are going through. And he writes, he says, when a real world development goes way beyond the wildest fiction, imagine, the kind of a phrase that he's using. He's saying that when a real world development goes way beyond the wildest fiction, the world has changed forever. Just in one, that sentence explains the severity and the impact of this COVID disruption. And he says the world has changed forever. So when he says that we had even not thought in the wildest fiction and world has changed, so let me share why we see the impact is so severe in this disruption. If I look at health, all of us, we know what is happening around the world. But now if I look at economy, we are talking about $9 trillion loss globally due to this pandemic. And of course, a lot of countries, particularly developed nations, are pumping in almost $8 trillion to deal with this pandemic, including India. In India, we are talking about 2 lakh crores of rupees of a support to businesses and many other uh, uh, enterprises in India to deal with this particular pandemic. And overall, we will see -3% of GDP growth, negative GDP growth because of this pandemic. And good news for India is, of course, we will not go negative. We will have some positive GDP growth compared to many countries where GDP will be negative. Look at businesses, all of us. I don't have to share about what is happening to the businesses. There's a sharp decline in the businesses, particularly in the first or in the first phase of the pandemic or lockdown. If you look at last 3 months, many of the businesses were closed, and the manufacturing was shut down, and barring some companies and some sectors, they were doing well, but otherwise most of the businesses around the world had a sharp decline in the businesses. And there are reasons. Even if you look at the global supply chain was disrupted because of this pandemic. Of course, there are some tech companies like Zoom, Slack, Zoho. They made a substantial rise during this pandemic. If I look at geopolitics, we know we are talking about now deglobalization. Just few years back, everywhere we were talking about globalization and the relevance and importance of a globalization. Look at today. Of course, just before pandemic, the process of deglobalization started, and pandemic has really made sure that either it will be deglobalization or reglobalization. Now we are talking about the world versus China. Look at what is happening in the geopolitics. One side there is a China, and other side the rest of the world, and we have seen potential impacts between on the businesses, those who depend on some of the imports and exports between India and China. And the good news is that today in India, we are talking about Atmanirbhar, a new mission from the Prime Minister, and that perhaps is going to create newer opportunities for entrepreneurs and for businesses because of this shift in the geopolitics. Social, we are looking at there are so many different numbers that we see in the news letters that it says, some of the news reports says that billion people have gone into the poverty. And of course, when people go onto the poverty, then we will see a rise of inequality, and also there is also a concern that it could potentially create a social unrest. And we see a lot of job losses within India and job losses around the world. And this kind of an impact, this kind of a disruption was never ever imagined, never ever thought in our wildest dreams. Let's look at businesses. Now we are talking about the enterprises and businesses and entrepreneurs and startups. Last year, Darshan, you and me, we were discussing with our cohort startups, and also several startups and several business leaders. The businesses had a lot of optimism, though there was a economic slowdown, but there was enthusiasm, there was optimism, and the business was going as usual, right? We were talking about revenues, we were talking about growth, we were talking about profitability, we were talking about how do we compete, how do we differentiate ourselves, how do we bring efficiencies in supply chain, how do we invest in capex, and how do we optimize our manpower. These were the key words that we were discussing when when we were having conversations with the business leaders and MSME leaders and startups and many other organizations. Look at now, just few months, in the last few months, Now we are discussing about, in every conversation that we are having, we are talking about uncertainty. How do we handle the uncertainty? How do we survive? How do we manage our cash flows? We've had thousands of webinars only on how do we manage our cash flows. Somewhere we were asking, how do I start? How do we restart? How do we reinvent? How do we repurpose? How do I manage my supply chain? How do I preserve my cash? How do I save my cost? All these things were the talk we are having today and in the last few months. Now we are talking about where do I get my manpower? Now, when we see the migration, almost 20 to 30 million workforce has moved from industrial cities all the way to the villages. Now, businesses are saying, where can I find my manpower, skilled manpower? I think these are some of the things that has dramatically brought the change in our conversations, in our business sustainability and business growth. When we compare all these things in the past and today and about the future, there are certain companies who have managed this particular change, this particular shift in the global order. So let me share some examples about how these companies have managed the change. And these are some of the examples that I have picked up either from my own study and my association with these companies. And I'm just trying to understand what makes these companies sustain and on the path, on the journey towards the growth. It's a very interesting thing that I observed in all these companies and all these founders and senior business leaders is one quality, and that one quality that I see that is strongly making a big difference within the organizations is entrepreneurial agility. In fact, when I was looking at this concept, entrepreneurial agility, I went to the Google and I tried to search whether there is some literature around entrepreneurial agility. I did not find much. There are one or two articles, but there is not much that is being spoken, that is being discussed, that has been written on this topic of entrepreneurial agility. We talk about organizational agility, but here I'm talking about, the way startups are agile, the way entrepreneurs are agile. How do we bring that kind of agility to the organization? It does not matter whether you are a multi-billion-dollar company or whether you are a small organization or a MSME. So let me explain this. My finding on the companies where I saw tremendous entrepreneurial agility, either by design or as a response to the situation, to the crisis. I was fascinated by this company called P2I. P2I is a company which is based in Oxfordshire in UK, and they are the pioneers in a liquid repellent nanotechnology coatings. There are few companies in the world who have this kind of technology. Now, P2I had has a big operation in China. China, they had this coatings technology, and this coating technology has a application to several areas, right from your electronic devices all the way to lifestyle and even military machines and devices. So when this pandemic was stuck first in China, even before reaching to the rest of the world, the P2I, this particular company, managed their operations without even a small shutdown. or a stop in their commitment and in their operation. So how did they do that? Because if you look at many companies, the moment there was a lockdown, there was a when employees are not allowed to go to the shop floor, and here was a company which was actually working, whether they are based out of Oxford, or those employees who were working in China, they were actually put in a hotel because it was under lockdown. And all these people, they had the technology to monitor as if they are part of this particular company, as if they are sitting or they're working on the shop floor. And that is by design. That's where we say that if your factory, your manufacturing is a smart manufacturing, if it is industry 4.0 compliant manufacturing, you can monitor, you can operate the companies. It doesn't matter where you are operating from, whether you are operating from UK or from a hotel. And I can tell you that the CEO wrote first report or first news letter to all its client on March 25th, how they are handling this particular situation. Because they had this remote monitoring capability, they were able to manage and check the health of their machines, and they were quickly changing the process. That's the beauty of Industry 4.0 or a smart factory, because you can build in, you can create dynamically different processes so that the machines and the factory and shop floor continues to run. And this particular company has not stopped serving their customer, and they have not even defaulted a single commitment during this entire pandemic, entire crisis. It's very, very interesting to see that how do you build that agility by design while you are building your companies. And then when I just opened up their website other day, I found that they are now bringing out different applications to drones, different applications to point of service devices for retail, because there you need their particular technology. So there are two things that we can learn from this particular company. Number one is that they had by design all the technology and processes to manage the company remotely. And second is that it is a platform technology, and this platform technology can actually create newer applications so that they can serve customer even during the crisis, or the newer applications that can emerge because of this crisis. For this particular company, I'm not sharing the name of this company, but because it is not publicly, it's not a public information. They have not yet shared what they have been able to achieve in their website or in the news columns. So this is a US-based multi-billion dollars company, B2B company. And what is required for this particular company is that they need to talk to their clients, meet the clients, close the deals. And almost, I think, Fortune 100 company, in the Fortune 100 companies are the clients of this particular company. And even in India, there are hundreds and hundreds of companies who are clients of this particular company. Now, imagine a situation that you need to engage with your clients, your customers, and close the deals. And now it is not possible. You can't go and meet them. You can't, have several meetings and finalize the deal, sign off the deal, and then ensure that you fulfill the commitments. This particular company, the uniqueness of this company is again their agility at the top, at the senior leadership as well as at the employee level. Because this company has offices all around the world. Even they have office in Mumbai, they have office in Pune, and Bangalore, and of course Shanghai, and every other part of the world. What they did in a quick, a week or 2 weeks of huddle, they engaged and sought ideas from the field, from the employees, and on the top, they were trying to think what can be done. And when they converged on what is the best way to continue the business, continue to meet the business goals and business target, and continue to serve the customers, they build a platform that enables every employee. It doesn't matter which place, which location you are in. Suppose you want to serve someone in Bangalore and you are based off the Pune, now you can do this. Couple of things they did. Number one is that first they gave a comfort to every employee. The system, the platform that they had was that order the most comfortable chair that you can think of, best audio video support equipments that you need. And then they also engaged with several existing properties for the meetings. Say from your platform you can book a banquet or a meeting seminar or meeting room in, say, in Hyatt, or for example Marriott, sitting here and wherever you are. And you cannot, or you may not even believe that the platform started working. Employees were extremely happy. They started doing their meetings virtually. It doesn't matter where they are based out of. They were signing off the deals. And most important is that they were able to meet the quarterly goal well before the quarter gets over. Imagine that if a senior leadership and the employees, if they come together and innovate and create a platform to manage the change and continue to support, continue to serve the customer and close the deals. It's a great examples of a company which is based, it's a very large company based out of US, having operation. And you know what they have done? They have now given up all their prime properties, prime offices. Even the offices, they had a beautiful offices in BKC and other things. Now they have given out those offices, and they see that this is the best way to move forward. So business has not changed, and they continue to lead and continue to grow. I was sharing the experiences from UK company, tech company, and also a US-based company. Now let me bring you to India and bring you to a manufacturing plant which is based in Ahmednagar, and share my experience how this L&T's manufacturing plant brought and responded to the crisis. So I know this because I'm part of their innovation council. And a week back, we had an innovation council meeting, and I found fascinating ideas from the employees. And these were the employees. There were close to, I think, 35 ideas, shortlisted ideas, coming out of staff of this manufacturing plant on how to respond to the crisis. How do we ensure that the manufacturing continues, to ensure that they fulfill the commitments they have made to the clients? They make all this switchgear and sometimes very large customized switchgear boards and many other electrical equipments. And the best part about these employees who were sitting at home under the lockdown, manufacturing was not functioning. So they had awareness that when they go back to the work, it is going to be a different kind of a work and different way of doing the things. And they started preparing when it was a lockdown. And several employees, there are very interesting innovations I could have shared, but because of the time I'm not sharing, that they brought several digital technologies to manage the entire process of process of right from entering into the factory and running the operations, and then even created certain amazing infrastructure where customers can come in and see the products, test the products without having difficulties because of this crisis. So what I really found that it does not matter whether you are a US-based company or whether you are a UK-based tech company, even a company which is in the traditional business, if the employees or the staff, the talent decides to bring the change and innovate and manage the crisis, they can definitely do it. So I found that there was a seamless operation happening in Ahmednagar plant, and they started the plant I think sometime in April. Even Pune plant started very late. So now this plant is not only working, but also they are saving substantial cost through various digital technologies and other innovations that they have made while they were in the pandemic lockdown. Now, let me move from a manufacturing to a startup. So I'm associated with this startup, Metamorphosis Technologies. Again, this particular startup is founded by two entrepreneurs, Amit and Keval. And Amit and Keval, since I have been associated, I was observing very closely how this small startup handles this such a big disruption. So they have a digital insurance technology platform, and they have clients all over the South Asia and Asia, and they had deliveries to happen to some of the leading companies in South Asian countries, and then lockdown happens. Now, when I look back, what Amit and Keval were able to do is incredible. Something very striking to most of us. The first thing they did was they brought the comfort to the employees. They said, I still remember because I was copied to the email that Amit wrote to all the talent, all the employees of Metamorphosis, very long email that we know we are in crisis, but we can handle, don't worry, we can make things happen, and we will fulfill the commitments. So first he gave a comfort to the employees, and then all the employees were started working from home. And now, when we look back, what has happened is that what Amit said is that the delivery from the employees was far, far greater compared to when they were in the office. This is something very unique. After employees, then what he started doing is comforting the clients. He started talking to the clients. He never went to the client and said that, what we can offer, but he just said that, how are you? How are things? things going well. It was just a comforting conversations he had with several customers. And then he did something very amazing. He said that that what is it that can be done in the time of a crisis. So they had a product. Then what he did, that he took the product and added other new product features, so that those product features become very, very important to the companies, to his clients in the time of crisis. And you may not believe that he added new customers to his portfolio. And some of the customers who were hardly doing business just pre-COVID, they started doing a large business using their platform technology. And then he said that this is the best time for me to even talk about Metamorphosis. It's a very unique company for me, because when they had multi-crore business, they did not even have a good website. Now, during the pandemic, they said, now let's build a website. Let us talk about what Metamorphosis does. He started coming onto the various media channels. He did a My Story session for Thai Pune. He did a global webinar for his one of the top platforms, and started talking about this. And now how did this impact to this to Metamorphosis? Because of being in the media after 3-4 years of starting a company, now even he started getting calls, or he started getting clients from India. It's a fascinating. Now, he says that they are still working 16 hours or 18 hours to make things happen and continue to offer their product to their clients, and also continue to grow. This is again a fascinating and incredible story from a startup which is based out of Pune on Bane Road. Now, again, let me bring you to a very different dimension. The different dimension or different plane is how did Harvard respond to this particular crisis? Like every country, somewhere in March 10th, Harvard decided to close the campus. There were 3,000 courses running as a part of that semester. They had only just a week or so to find a solution, to find a solution to make sure that they continue to offer these courses and successfully close the semester. Harvard did something which is very incredible at 2 levels. The first level, what they did was they said, how do we engage every professor and faculty to ensure that they will create courses and deliver it online. Now, every staff member, whether they were working in admissions group, admissions department, or in HR, or in say other areas of administration, these staff members, they became technology facilitators. They were basically facilitating and ensuring that the online classes happen, and professors are comfortable to deliver online, and students get what they want. In fact, they integrated Zoom and Canvas platforms, and ensured within a week they managed to bring the change, and they ensured that they delivered the courses online and successfully close the semester. But that is something which is one level of response to the crisis. So what Harvard University professor Bharat Anand says, that this is like a PDF version of a real physical on-campus experience, just a copy of that, and they try to do this to an extent that is possible. But now Harvard is saying that how do we reimagine the entire university education? And he wrote a very powerful article in, I think, Boston Globe some couple of weeks back. And he says that we were making a wrong comparison of a best experience of residential education versus median experience of online. He said, let's flip the question. Can we start asking and reimagining that what are the limitations of residential experiences and what are the advantages of a virtual one? And once you start asking, you just flip the question, then a lot of possibilities emerge. And believe me, I think all of us should track how they are planning to bring that change. What they are trying to do is something very unique. They said, in a residential campus, what we get to hear or get to learn is from one professor. Now, what if along with this professor, in the virtual world, I get to learn from practitioners or some of the thought leaders in that same space, and that is possible through online. For example, one of the faculty, one of the professors who was teaching economics, he said after virtual class, he brought in chief economist of IMF, some very senior staff of a treasury department, and many others. Imagine the kind of an impact and kind of a learning that one can have, not only from your professor, but from the best of best in the world. Now, fundamentally, now Harvard University is saying that when you are on a campus, you are learning from only those courses which are available in Harvard. Harvard students generally don't take classes from MIT or say Stanford. But now, if we can convert this into a virtual experience, our students, Harvard students, are able to take courses of their choice from MIT or from Stanford. So your learning expands not only from a same one university campus, but to the experts from all around the world. And then if we have a global participation, we can bring in the global experience of learning. Suppose there is a team, someone is based out of India, someone is based in Malaysia, someone is in Europe. Now, if I'm doing a project and based on my actions here, or action learning, based on my activity here, I can get the data from India, and now I'm exchanging this with the students from different parts of the world. It can be a global experience. It's a very interesting way to reimagine the way future of education will emerge. And Harvard is now taking a lead in this change. And then let me bring it again back.
Dr. Aravind, just a quick time check. We are at 5:45. We do have some questions. Maybe
Yes.
the last 7 odd minutes, if we could reserve for questions, that would be great, if that is
Thanks, Darshan. See, this is what happens in webinars. You are talking to a laptop. You are not
Sure.
looking at other things. So this is the last experience that I thought I will share. Here is a startup which is based out of Bangalore, called. And when disruption stuck to them, they changed the way they developed the product. They did business development and sales, and also engaged the customer. But the best thing that I saw with Callpal, because again, I'm one of their mentors, is that not only they did bring the change in the way they work, the way they engage customer, but they added entirely a new suite of products. So earlier they had ERP for education. Now they can entirely, university can actually now run through their virtual classes as well as the ERP. This is such a important thing that we can learn from a startup which is based out of Bangalore. So here, let me quickly go through now. I think I wanted to share a lot of things, but the time that we have. So one of the questions that are fundamentally asked is it a good time? Is it a good idea to start a new venture or explore other business opportunities in the time of crisis? So if you just take a pause and just think whether what should be the answer, or what has been the experience in the past. So while you are thinking, let me share that Kaufman Foundation did a study sometime in June 2019, immediately after 2008 recession, and what they said that half of the companies in the list of Fortune 500 in the year 2009 were launched during the recession. Very interesting. Yeah? Half of the companies in the Fortune 500 list, they started their companies in the time of crisis, in the time of recession, or just before the recession began, or during the recession, or after the recession. And now they are most very successful and very highly leading companies in the world. And some of the companies which were started during this crisis or during the recession is right from G's to HP's and Google and Uber and GM and Disney and Microsoft. And it's a great exercise, just to look at these companies and what we can learn. So let me quickly now try to converge our thinking and converge my talk, though there were a lot of other things that I wanted to share. I think this is a biggest opportunity for any entrepreneur or any business leader in the current crisis, because today we are talking about Atmanirbhar India, and as a part of Atmanirbhar, we want to, as a nation, build newer infrastructure, take the economy to the next level, leverage the demography that we have, and ensure that we utilize that demand and supply that we have as a nation. And here you will have a lot of opportunities, even the opportunities that we can think of due to managing the supply chain that we had from China. And there are, several possibilities that we can think of, several opportunities that we have in this crisis. I did a report on opportunities available for Industry 4.0, and just before pandemic, I had proposed that there are two big opportunities for India. One is building this digital twin industry in Pune and in India, and creating this entire cognitive systems based on the strength that we have in India. This report is available. I will share this report so that you would see what opportunities that exist today. And of course, there are several other opportunities that exist, right from IoT solutions to big data, through our autonomous robots to cybersecurity, 3D printing. And these are some of the solutions that are possible to deal with the current crisis to MSME and even to larger companies. We can have systems level opportunities. I'm working today. How do we handle skilling of say 300 million youngsters in India, which is a very, very challenging systems level opportunity, but there are several opportunities that we have today to explore in the time of crisis. And of course, you know that Google is planning to invest $20 billion in India to help digital entrepreneurs. And I also just quickly had a glance of AGM of RIL. I guess that Google is investing in RIL geo platforms. And of course, there will be tremendous support from Google for all digital solutions. So the last slide is, what is it that Flame University is doing to create that entrepreneurial agility and managing this entire crisis. So we are launching this new course to create this high impact entrepreneurs. And our first module is on Unlearn. And this Unlearn, the first module is all about helping entrepreneurs to be agile in their in the journey of building the high impact multi-billion-dollar or solving the challenges and problems of billion people. And this is something which is so unique that we have brought in our course. So let me stop here and look forward to your questions. Darshan.
Thank you. Fantastic, Dr. Aravind. Before I get into questions, quick compliment your way. Vikas Shirodkar said, excellent wide-ranging examples and presented beautifully. Superb content. Thank you. And so just wanted to pass that on to you. Now we have a few questions. If you have more questions, please do share them right now. Here's a question, Dr. Chinchure. Sir, if you could explain, tell us one key factor that determines whether an opportunity can be seized or lost in a business. Can there be one factor that determines it?
It's not a one factor. There are, of course, multiple factors that exist or makes to explore this opportunity. So, while you were asking this question, I was just trying to figure out, how can I come live? So, so there are multiple factors. Now, as an entrepreneur, when we say entrepreneurial agility, is to look at these factors and bring that balance, because there could be certain factors that are influencing positively. There are certain factors which are influencing negatively, but which are those which will bring the or create this win-win possibilities, win-win opportunities to both the company and the clients. For example, when I was talking about this multi-billion-dollar company, they looked at all the possibilities. One side, they wanted to ensure that they fulfill the commitment without any gap, but they ensured that they found a solution that they can do this through a digital platform with the comfort from home, with the existing properties that we have in the form of hotels, and taking off the very premium things, and ensuring that employees extremely happy. If you talk to their employees are very, very happy, what they have, and they could meet this thing. Sorry, Darshan, what happened is while you were asking this question, I was figuring out. So
no worries, no worries. I think you answered the question. Perfect. Here comes a question from Ronak Gunjal. Great initiative. Greetings from Germany. Will pandemic surviving firms gain a permanent edge over new firms founded in the post-pandemic world due to their ability to handle drastic change?
I think so, because see, today what we are talking, Darshan, is resilience.
Right.
Now, if someone as an individual or an organization goes through these various crises again and again, and just to now, since I was talking about Reliance Industries or say Google, for example, these are the companies, they have managed all kinds of recessions. Right. It doesn't matter whether it is 2000, 2008, or this particular recession. Now, imagine the startups. If a startup has been able to manage, and that rich experience of handling the crisis definitely will have a larger advantage. But also the newer companies, now that they know this has happened, they can learn from the existing companies, how they managed. They can certainly grow, build the business, and thrive in the post-pandemic world.
Excellent. And you also talked a lot about resilience, right? Resilience of companies and startups, that is for sure. Just tied on the resilience is, I also want to make an announcement that our next speaker is Dr. Ashwin Nayak. He's a healthcare entrepreneur, built multiple healthcare businesses, healthcare investor. He's an author who's written few books. So on Saturday from 5 to 6 p.m. is when he'll be talking about how do startup founders build mental resilience in this COVID crisis and beyond it for your startup, right? So Dr. Aravind, thanks a lot for putting the slide deck up, but there is one last question that I want to take before we wrap up. Here's Prem Kumar speaking about this. You mentioned that in one company, the productivity of employees improved during the lockdown. How did the company manage aspects such as stress, being distanced from colleagues, loneliness, fear of jobless? Just curious to know. And I know many others are interested in something similar.
See, in Metamorphosis, the first thing Amit did so well is the communication. When I read that communication, the first thing that communication gives, the message that communication gives is that I'm safe. First thing, that my company is ensuring that I will not lose my job. So, and company is going to support me continuously in this process. So he took several decisions to ensure. For example, since they have clients and many staff members used to go to Indonesia, Vietnam for this, the first thing he did, before even this pandemic became visible in India, is ensured that they are brought back to India. So that ensuring that comfort, ensuring that the business will continue and there is a big opportunity, and giving them all possible support. In fact, he also did very interesting. He increased the salary of many top performers, 10%, 20%. Imagine the kind of an impression that you get. I think these are some of the things that kept the company going, and the challenges, newer opportunities made sure that they are completely engaged for something very big. Darshan, in India, we thrive in crisis. But of course, I saw many companies, in fact, some headlines that graveyard and all kinds of things. Many companies are closing and so on. But those who are actually entrepreneurial in their way of running the organization, they continue to thrive in the crisis.
So just related to that, I think we'll take one more question. This is by Dr. Sandeep Patil. How can existing startups sustain in COVID scenario? I know it's a very broad question, possibly a long answer, but just continuing that thought, what are maybe one or two things that they should be doing or looking out for?
See, if you are a startup see, first thing we need to understand the reality. The reality, for example, is that the kind of a product that as a startup we wanted to bring in now has lost the relevance. For example, there is no market today. I think we need to understand the reality. So there are certain things which you can control. There are certain things which you cannot control. So ensure that that this is a situation where you have no control. That's the number one. Number two is, if this is so, how do I reinvent? How do I repurpose? How do I look at, as a startup, a newer opportunity? Because crisis has given, say, more opportunities compared to, say, pre-COVID era. Now we are talking about, just look at the supply chain alone. Take pharma or any other. I'm not talking about just the apps. Just look at the supply chain and you see where you can add value. Or look at what is going to happen to MSME, what is going to happen large company, what is required. So then I would say that we reinvent and offer the a solution, either adjacent to the product that you have, or it could be even entirely a new product that can happen. If that doesn't happen, take a pause. Take a pause, find out the newer opportunity, build the new business plan, build the prototype, test it, and be ready for 2021 to create that big impact. I know this is not just a set of things, but there are many other things that we can think of. Yes.
Excellent. We are at 6:01. So, while I think this session should have probably been like a 90-minute or a 120-minute session, we try to limit it to 1 hour. People are going through a lot of different activities. So, and we want to kind of respect that. Thank you for joining us here. I really appreciate it.
So Darshan, let me just conclude, because actually, what I shared was half of the story. I could not go through the rest half of the story. So let's summarize some of the learnings. The first learning I would say is that that either by design or as an action, we need to ensure that we build that agility within the organization. Like one company had, by design, they were proactively ensuring that they had those things ready without even anticipating the crisis. And in the crisis, they managed. Second thing is, when you have a crisis, how quickly you can solve that. And that requires not just from the top or from the down, but working together. So that's something which is important. Third insight that I have is that the companies that have survived, they had platform technology. So look at, as an entrepreneur or as a company, if you're looking at only creating a product and selling that product, perhaps that's not the future, or the future is going to be very challenging for them. So ensure that you move from a product to a platform. Like, for example, today, why Jio is getting so much of investment? Because they are talking about Jio platform. It's a whole ecosystem, and we are talking platform of platforms. So as an entrepreneur, if you have a platform kind of a solution, it does not matter, in the time of a crisis, you were during pre-crisis, you were offering certain set of solutions, but during the crisis and post-crisis, you build different applications and different things. So I think that would basically help businesses and entrepreneurs by design, as a team and as a company, and as a technology or as a solution. If you can think through this, then you have a chance of managing the change and succeeding in any crisis.
Excellent. Thank you. Just a quick announcement. We do have Dr. Ashwin Nayak in our next webinar on Saturday at 5 p.m. I hope you're able to register and log in. Please ask anyone in your network who might benefit from this to join. These are free webinars. We are trying to bring them to for your benefit. And if you want any particular topic or speaker that you would like us to bring on this webinar, please share it in our feedback. You'll get an email with this recording and the slide deck and the feedback form. Please take a couple of minutes to just reply back and share your feedback. It's very useful, very meaningful for us. Again, Dr. Aravind, thank you for taking time. Really appreciate you taking time to share your experience and these wonderful examples. And looking forward to continuing working with you at Flame University.
Thank you, Darshan. So thank you very much. Thanks to all participants. There are so many webinars, but I still see 40 plus, 50 plus participants. Thanks to everyone. I'm available in case if they need to talk to me.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right. Good evening, everyone. Take care.
Good evening.